Wheel of Time has dropped episode 4, and let me just say, it was as close to perfection as I've ever seen fantasy TV get. A deep, evocative episode, which paces on with the wind in its mane. The main draw was Rand's Rudian quest, a rite of passage that was maddeningly well done, with some great theme, remembering one's roots, earning your stars, or a double dragon mark in this case, and last but not least, greatness comes at a cost. Everything about Rand's harsh history lesson was epic. And as for Moiraine's torture of the Rudian, I felt that. I felt the whole thing. The ending of this episode has huge implications on the story, and I couldn't be more pumped to bring it to you all. We're gonna try not to divulge into any book spoilers at all, but spoiler warning guys, we will break down the whole episode along with the ending explained. Real quick, before we get into it, we have a small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. So let's get into this monster episode right away. The episode from a vantage point. The Rudian is a turning point for Rand and a massive moment in the story, so I'm sure the book fans will be just as excited to see this as everyone else. This episode is an adaptation of a section of The Shadow Rising, a Robert Jordan book, which takes us through a scathing trial that the chiefs and the wise ones of the Ale must go through. From the very start of this episode, it felt like a great one. The main act, which was Rand and Moiraine walking into the Rudian, was well framed by some Aviendha and Lan moments, and also a brief but impactful run-in with the Shido. As soon as the Rudian scenes took off though, oh my god, was it on. From that point on, till the conclusion of Rand's test, the inflexible, punishing walk through the times long gone but never forgotten, the episode just kept on hammering us. While the 3 premiering episodes also packed in much, I would say they're more of a treat for the book fans. If you aren't familiar with the lore, those premiering episodes may come off as only mildly exciting. They were obviously setting up subplots and new characters that will get going later down the line. But all that has changed now, with episode 4, which was hyper-focused on the Rand al'Thor arc, giving everyone a great big swig of the main storyline, which is what we were looking forward to. This is my favorite episode of not just season 3, but of all of the Wheel of Time. And honestly, I would go ahead and say that this was one of the best episodes of anything that I've ever seen on TV. Let's not waste any more time and get into a spoiler-heavy episodic review before we break down the ending for you. Episode 4 in review. The episode shows the long and poignant history of the Ale, as far back as the Age of Legends. There's so much that happened in this episode, but thankfully, there were no stray strands of bit storylines, and it was all connected to each other. The episode opened with some unsurprising moments. Aviendha getting stripped of her spears and pushed into duty was something we expected, as it was in the sneak peek that dropped before the episode. But the entire story after was focused on the Rudian and what the journey within it means to the Ale. Okay, I have to mention the sparring between Aviendha and Lan, which happened just before Aviendha begrudgingly accepted her fate and asked to go to the Rudian. Aviendha has a super short play fight with Lan. It was well choreographed, but still, it was probably the only part of the episode that I wasn't totally crazy for. But I do get it. It was likely inserted into the script for some fun and excitement before it all gets super intense. I don't know though. That whole thing didn't go well with me, with Lan's persona of the serious, enigmatic guy who's the best swordsman ever. But that's probably just me. We'll leave that one out for now, because what came next just blew my mind. The spar ended super abruptly, with Bear taking away Aviendha's spears and telling her to get real, and get going. She's destined to become a wise one. Aviendha finally lets go of her spear maiden self, and asks to go into the Rudian. There was a quick sequence that popped in another storyline in the mix. We're introduced to the Shido before Rand takes off for the Rudian, and leading the group of them was Sivana. There's nothing not to like about this woman. The acting, the over-the-top costume with that headdress, all beautifully done. The Shido clearly do not like the Rand. This scene also shows Ruark channel to stop Koladin in his tracks. This is the first we see of the Ale channeling. And then comes the thing we're all waiting for. Rand and Moiraine walking down to their fate inside the Rudian. Inside the Rudian. Rudian, the city of clouds, looks pretty darn amazing in that bird's eye view shot that we get with Rand and Moiraine walking towards it. Even on the outside, everything from the tall statues at the entrance to the projects of power. The whole foggy space looks marvelously intriguing. The CG in Wheel of Time has never let us down, I'll tell you that. Okay, so Rand is supposed to get in there and experience the past, his own and also that of the Ale clan. Every step forward will take him backward in time, while Moiraine will visit the many possibilities her future holds within one of the 3 rings she will come by. Their first shop is Avinda Sora, the Tree of Light, which gives Rand and Moiraine the story, drawing out their earliest connection. This one is about the Ale hunting down the man of Carheen on the Dragon Mount, where Rand was born. I truly love such stories sprinkled in meaningful moments. Such anecdotes effortlessly enrich the TV series lore. Okay, so Rand continues to give a cold shoulder to Moiraine here, and I can understand that he doesn't want her driving him like Hiccup does Toothless. But showing some gratitude for all the times she stood by him wouldn't hurt the man. I think Rand's icy treatment of Moiraine is also because of the pull he feels to the dark side when he channels. But he'll learn better before the end of the Rudian road. As the glass columns work their magic, things get tough and every step cumbersome. Rand's flashes begin. First he sees his father, the Ale warrior, Janduin, weighing lace to Laman's army. I'm so glad they had Joshua Stradowski play Rand, as well as all of his ancestors, by the way. It's such a simple but hearty move from the director. With some clever makeup, wigs, and costumes, Janduin and all the other ancestors that Rand sees feel like a pressure representation of his bloodline. It also shows off Stradowski's acting chops. The moment between Janduin and Rand's bleeding mother was a strong reminder to Rand of his cruel break in the world. The second vision is of Mandine, the Ale chief, from a bygone time. His appearance is warmer, darker hair, and it feels like a time when there was more water for the clans. The peaceful Ale people who once planted the Tree of Life are all gone, with only the warring ones left. The transition of the Rudian into a test of will and assimilation of the past without a potential leader's mind is shown to Rand while our man trudges over the bodies of those who lost their mind, wandering the glass columns. The third vision takes Rand further back to a time when his ancestors sought only peace. The Way of the Leaf. The clan was small but sufficient. But Luwin, one of Rand's direct bloodline, had courage and a strong will to protect his people. He put aside the Way of the Leaf, the oath of peace that carried the Ale for ages. These peaceful people did not use swords and shunned Luwin for killing a man who kidnapped his sister. Luwin and his estranged friends took up the spear and became the protectors of their people. The next vision shows the peaceful clan, left with nothing but an old man, Jonai and his grandson, who went on following their oaths of peace even after much brutality against their people. All the others go southhand. There's a divide among the Ale, separating them into clans. Jonai takes his grandson and goes across the spine of the world, to settle and be safe in a place where his work built, now known as the Rudian. The fifth vision takes Rand to the timeline around the breaking of the world. Rand's ancestor is a young man of peace, serving an Aes Sedai. The Aes Sedai entrusts him with the Sarkarnan, a pearly spear which is a female sangreal in the TV series. Sick of all the violence before and after the Dark One's capture, and the corrupting of the male Aes Sedai, she then gives Sarkarnan to the peaceful people. But she binds them by an oath, the Way of the Leaf. Rand's ancestor nestles in the Sarkarnan within a Chora tree sapling. With tens of thousands of such plants, he rides out with his people to find a land of safety. The last vision Rand sees is from the Age of Legends, a time just before the peace of the land began to splinter. Rand's ancestors are farmers, but the one from his direct bloodline serves Maren Sedai, who later became Lanfear. She feels that she's found the source of power without the limitations of the One Power. Maren and her colleagues' research leads them to drill a bore into the pattern, looking to harvest the true power. This proves to be a catastrophic mistake. A great explosion shatters the floating Sharam above the fields, and I'm hard-pressed to find the words to describe how brilliantly this was shown in the episode. The shockwaves of the explosion and Rand's ancestor standing among the farmers shook as the Dark One's prison is breached. After this, the Dark One was able to touch the world again, and everything changed. At the end of the flashes, while Rand lays in the dust of the Rudian, his hands become marked, the double dragon markings of the Kara Karen. Okay, we have to mention the never-ending futures Moiraine was wheeling through while Rand walked. At Moraine's end, she finds the Sarkarnan within the Tree of Life, before she walks forth and comes by the rings. Inside one of them floats Aviendha, writhing and screaming. Moiraine steps through the ring and takes her. This is a brilliant vision. Just perfect concept design and CG flowing through. The rotating shots, showing thousands of turns on the wheel, are cinematic excellence. Hats off to Tojkin's team for this. Just like Bear had foretold, Moiraine goes through the umpteen number of futures on a flipping plane, from the destroyed dragon reborn to bonding with him in several ways, and dark visions of Lanfear poisoning the Tavarin, then slashing Moraine's throat and body over and over again, blood flying around and staining the floor and sand. Moraine's torment at watching the futures course through her without respite is palpable. 7 days run without Rand and Moiraine surfacing from the Rudian. Rand had crossed the Rudian, but he would not return without Moiraine Landbroods, in Moraine's absence. But out on the dawn of the 8th day, Rand emerges from the Rudian, carrying a special and unconscious Moiraine in his arms, which carries the mark of the Chief of Chiefs. It's a weighty ending to a profound episode, a conclusion so satisfying that any and every issue anyone had with the show wouldn't have just vanished into thin air. Ending explained. Randall Thor is now the Carcharodon. And while this is what the Ale awaited for a long time, it's also a moment they surely dreaded. Latra Sedai, who erected the glass columns with the help of the Sakarnin, prophesied that the Carcharodon would emerge from the Rudian at dawn and tie the Ale with bonds they cannot break. And I know I speak for Aviendha, the newest wise one, when I say, not everyone likes to be so tightly tied down. Aviendha left Rand in the Rudian with a snide remark, calling him a wetlander, even though she saw Carcharodon marking on him. I'm really excited to see the aftermath of Rand becoming the leader of Ale. There's bound to be some pushback. We'll also have the Shadow story coming in, which is going to raise the temperatures around here. Now, prior to this episode, I was a tad disappointed to watch Rand's sidelines for all the subplots that were being set up this season. The time that he did have on screen, he was shown sulking and dealing with inner strife. He wasn't really given a chance to act, like the Dragon Reborn. Even at the beginning of episode 4, Rand was overcome by Aviendha, who took his sword, and I was like, really? That's how timid the dragon is when someone tries to have a go at him? But that was Rand's journey through the Rudian, everything I needed to know from this show and more. It was insane character development, and now I do believe. Going forward though, Rand will have to make each one of the Ale come together and believe, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the show handles that. Rand has also gotten a whiff of what Lanfear was up to in the olden times, and how her ambitions ended up causing the end of a peaceful world. So I'm certainly looking to see how their dynamic works after this. Rand would now be fully aware that kicking it with her can result in nothing good. And my good people, let us not miss the fact that Moiraine now has the Sakarnin. Her visions inside the ring would make her even more wary of Lanfear, who's deeply woven into the Rand and Moiraine narrative. As for Rand snubbing Moiraine all the time, this will stop now that they've gone through the brutally marring experience of the Rudian. Rand has now embraced his roots. He will be wiser and more driven to gain the trust of all his people, and Moiraine will help him with that. Marvelous verdict. We're likely headed towards the Tanchico story in the next arc. Dialing back to the first look we got in Season 3, I do want to watch this part of the story. I absolutely loved the beady, veiled costume designs, the men with their hats and whatnot, the whole Tanchico corner giving a Tortuga in the Pirates of the Caribbean vibe. It was an overall intriguing set, but now that we have the Rudian experience, which was just a ravishing adventure, I just want to see more of what happens in Ale Waste. This part of the story literally warmed the cockles of my heart. If you haven't seen episode 4 yet, go watch it already. It absolutely slaps. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to let us know what you enjoyed most about this video. Take care, Marvelous fam. Bye for now.